And I think that's it. If we're ready, we'll get started.
So if it is on the behind a book or something, bring it over to the side of you like this, and then you still have your book in the middle.
There you go.
You're going to have to do that.
That
Because
works.
people out in the audience don't hear it,
Yeah,
and
that
I
makes sense.
don't. But I've got a new earpiece for tonight.
Good.
So we're trying that out to see if it works.
Good. Okay. Good. Okay, we're ready whenever you are.
Me?
Oh, not you. Sorry. Ron. I'm live. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Wrong ready. Wrong Stacy. Oh, sorry, Stacy. It is 6:02 p.m. Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. This is Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission regular meeting. We're at the auditorium. May I have a roll call, please, Sue?
Yes. Clarissa Litherland. Here. Laurie Crammond.
Here.
Mary Ellen Griffith.
Here.
Rod Gray.
Here.
Ruth Hager.
Here.
Sue Hubbard is here. And Mark Ingram on Zoom.
Here.
All right. We have a quorum, a super quorum almost. Everybody's here. Good. Rod, is this your first regular meeting? You went to workshop. This is your
Second
first
one.
Second regular meeting. Okay.
Yeah,
Everybody's here.
This is actually his first meeting, and he has not introduced himself yet.
That's true.
Because he's been to workshops.
All right. Workshop and you were at special meetings. So if you'd like to take a minute to just say your name.
You want me to explain who I am?
No.
No.
No, when someone's new, I think it's just nice for anyone watching to say, I'm a new commissioner, because people don't always watch the special meetings like we did.
My name is Rod Gray, and I've lived in Eureka for 2 years now. I'm a native Arkansonian, a word you probably have never heard, but I push it a lot because I don't like to advertise Kansas in our name. So Arkansonian sounds smarter to me. I'm very excited about being a part of the commission because I want to do something more for the state of Arkansas. So starting with Eureka is a step for me. And I hope that I can be very beneficial and open and available and doing as much as possible. So you can lean on me when you need me.
Good. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Would he need to know who we are?
Do you know who all of us are? Have you
I
worked-
do.
Okay.
Because
perfect.
I've already had 2 meetings. So,
True. Yeah, he's been
I'm used to
he's
y'all
been to the
now.
workshops and some of the special meetings. He just haven't had a regular meeting. Okay. We need to approve the agenda. Does everyone have the agenda?
Yes.
So move approval.
It's Rod. Do you have a second?
Can I ask that, because I have a hard stop at 7:30 and there's a lot on that agenda, can we prioritize? I'm not saying we shouldn't approve it, but can we sequence it ranked by the highest priority down? I'm not sure we'll be able to finish all that in an hour and a half, to be honest. It's a lot.
Well, let's approve the agenda and move forward as quickly as we can. How about that?
But can we start with the highest priority items? And I'm not necessarily sure, and this is a question possibly for Steve and Ruth, are they ranked according to
Pretty much.
priority?
Yeah,
I think
pretty
they
much.
are, actually. I was
Yeah.
looking at them. I
And
think
they're
they
not going
are.
to be as long as they look like a lot, but really, I'm not going to do any deep dives on this. It's
Okay,
more of
good.
a
Yeah, no, I read the material. It
presentation of
was a
topics.
lot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the background material is just for your awareness,
Good.
and then when we get into it, we're not going to go over that in
Okay.
depth.
I think they are, other than one of the items being like the executive session being old business, which we would go to first, may take longer than some of the other things, so I don't know.
I second
Thank
the
you.
motion.
Yes, Mary Ellen. Any discussion? Yeah, that's more proper. Now we can have discussion. Do we want to change any other order? You think you're okay with just?
Nope. As long as it's in priority order,
Okay.
that's
And
great.
if we get close to 7:30, you'll just let us know?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm fine as long as we don't repeat ourselves and we don't keep talking too long about something. Just get to the point and say it.
That's
and
right.
we'll be fine.
And that's why, what is the thing you can say, point of order, when someone is going on too long, right? And
Get
isn't
it
that
on the
procedure?
phone.
Okay. So all in favor of passing the agenda?
Aye.
Approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, what are we, 6-0? Okay. Public comments? Is Stacy's not public comment, he's just, thanks.
I think Stacy's part of the new business.
Yes, I just realized that. Chairperson's comments. I'm just going to skip myself for tonight. Let us go faster. Go straight to Steve with the interim director's report. Sorry.
Hello. Just to quickly recap the last couple of weeks, one of the items that was put in the file that you probably saw was goals and recommendations. That's for you to look through. It's kind of, when we're working in parks, it's always nice to have some kind of overarching goals that we're trying to achieve, and it's nothing cast in concrete as much as it's something that I put together back last year, and it kind of gives us an outline of, say, a macro level of detail, so to speak. And we'd shared it at the last long-range planning committee, but in that committee, I only had focused on Lake Leatherwood.
Yep.
And I fixed that and made it broader, so it covered pretty much all the parks. So that's what that is in there for, but it's not part of the other discussions. This week, or last couple of weeks, we've got all our side-by-sides up and running now. They are back on the property and working. We hope to have our website up and running within a couple days. Visitor Center is close to finish. We're trying to get 2 large panels of glass next to the door put in place, but the rest of it is done. It's been painted and trimmed out. We've used it several times even before this, so it's a very useful facility. We had the comms systems, the Wi-Fi systems and all that moved up to that building so that, we've got that as an office now rather than down at the bait shop. That refurb is getting close to done. One of the bigger things we did the last few weeks is we had a meeting out at Lake Leatherwood to discover an emergency action plan. As you know, with the dam, there's an emergency action plan associated with the dam, and that particular plan needs to be updated, so we brought all the folks together. We had folks from the Department of Emergency Management, Sheriff's Office, Public Works, and then local police all out at the Visitor Center. So we discussed that plan. And then Juanita's out there. She's going to be bringing that together and updating it. We did have we continue, it's a park. So when people get out in the parks, every now and then someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to have a problem. We've had a few of those recently. So Juanita's looking at her procedures and what we can do to be very responsive. So a lot of that is in the works. So the team's really working hard on that. Another item is, as you know, we have memorials at the park. And we have donations to the park. Administratively, what we're doing is we're we are looking through the finances and tagging those. QuickBooks has a way of tagging those, and that enables us to see what comes in, and then it shows how we expense against that item. So we're trying to make sure that we've got a good grasp of all those things so we don't lose track of some of the things that folks are donating to the park and make sure we spend it on the things that they intended.
That's good.
Skate park. I had a voicemail the other day. Someone was at the skate park, and the drain hole cover, they had been skating in the park, and the drain hole cover was open, and they had a spill inside the skate park. What had happened was earlier we discovered that someone had taken the drain cover, and it was gone. So we had put a cone down in the bottom of the skate park. Then someone took the cone. And then someone got in the park, and true to form, someone got hurt. What we did was got onto that right away. Vince had already been, our maintenance person had already been looking and working with someone to machine a new drain cover and to make it so that it could be more firmly attached. So he received that yesterday, I think, and today he reinstalled that drain cover and kind of smoothed that out. So that's replaced. So it's spring, so there's some spring mischief. Today someone threw a whole bunch of branches inside the skate park. So we're starting to see that, it's kind of like, okay, well, here we go. We're keeping up with that as best we can, but those things are, I don't know. Sometimes some of these things are just the way things happen. So skate park's in good shape now. The drain cap is repaired. We're also in the future going to work a little bit more on skate park. There's some seams we want to repair because when we get heavy rains, it's the Ozarks, so we get all that water, hydraulic pressure underneath the park, and it becomes a fountain instead of a skate park, and it fills up with water. I think some people have called it kind of a fishbowl, but it's not supposed to be a fishbowl. It's supposed to drain. So we're going to work on that here this summer to get that repaired. The last thing I have on the director's comments is skate park graffiti. The skate park graffiti, as you know, is we've got some really nice things, very artistic things in there, and we've got some things that are not so artistic. And we're going to have to get onto that and be a little bit more responsive to make sure we go out there and police that more often and then get those things cleaned up. And then we need to probably think about how do we want to work that? Do we want to continue with what we've got on there, or do we want to document, after we get rid of the stuff that doesn't really need to be there, document people's art, get it all cleaned up, and then maybe they can come in and do that again. It's a good place to come in and exercise your artist skills or your craft skills. Or do we want to just clean it all up and then put something nearby that can be used? I don't know if that would work because it's almost like, there's a lot more canvas down here. So these are the kinds of things we probably in a workshop I'll bring up, and then we can discuss how we want to move forward with that, and then talk with some local art experts too, because it's easy to say, well, graffiti, just get rid of it. Well, graffiti is in many ways a form of art. If it's legal art, in a place not on my car, or, things like that. So that's really all I have. If you have any questions about what's been going on the last couple of weeks.
I actually have a question. So the building you're refurbishing at Lake Leatherwood is being referred to as a visitor center. And I always think of visitor center as a place where it's staffed, at least part of the time, there's hours, where people go up and ask questions.
Yep.
But that's not a discussion we've had anything about. What are the plans?
Well, the visitor center it's a focal point. Anytime we go in there and work, people come up and visit and they ask questions, and it's just invariable. Vince is up there and working and reciting the place, people come up and start asking questions. So we know that people do like having a visitor center there. So what will happen is the lake manager's office will be in there. So when she's down there working, she'll be in there. When our other staff members are working, that's a place for them to be as well, just as much as the bait shop. In a way, the bait shop is the visitor center right now.
Right.
And that's essentially what we offer. As far as saying it's going to be 24/7, no.
No, it's not 24/7. I've just said posted hours, so it could be weekends.
Well, we're not to that point yet.
Yeah.
Right now, it's called a visitor center because we're evolving it to that.
I'm concerned we're adding extra staff, extra requirements on staff, and I just want to make sure we're not doing that without planning it.
No.
And I'm also concerned, if the sign up that says visitor center, if I arrive there, it's really hard to find a map. If you are a tourist, you pull into that parking lot, any of those parking lots in that area, it's really hard to find the bait shop to find that map, because you don't even know you need to find the bait shop. They say that out on the trails, but it doesn't say that when you pull into Lake Leatherwood Marina. And if I saw, you've already got a notice board with no maps on it. There's nothing at the trailheads.
No, there are.
and
Maps-wise?
Maps-wise.
There are new maps put up.
Okay.
Sam put up a whole bunch of new
good,
maps.
good,
They're
that's
very,
good.
they're,
Good.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they're like 4 feet tall.
Okay, good, good.
So those are up,
Yeah.
and they just sent me.
I'm assuming the bait shop's got to have people in it more often than the visitor center. And I just want to make sure people don't see the visitor center and think that's it, and I have to keep looking for the bait shop.
Well, if they want bait, they won't find it there. They'll direct them
No.
to the bait shop.
No,
If they
but
want a
I'm
canoe,
thinking-
they go to the bait shop.
Okay, but I'm thinking any kind of question, any kind of map, looking for maps. If you walk up and see an empty, locked visitor center, you'd think, oh, they're closed, there's no people here. But there may be someone in the bait shop, and I just want to make sure. This could be fixed with some signage, but I just want to make sure we're careful about.
That's not a bad idea. We can put a sign
what we do
that
just to
says,
make sure that people don't get confused by seeing a visitor center sign, and when there may be long periods of time, even on busy weekends, where there's no one in there.
Okay.
I think you're also, remember when we talked a while back, the fact that people come into this, it's like it's re-evolving what's already going on there.
Right.
Moving Juanita workspace, getting that the space is there rather than just calling it Juanita's office, because people come in and ask questions. It's evolving into a visitor center of sort, and that's maybe the terms confusing. It's like you said, it's working towards it. It's not really.
Yeah, I
official
was
visitor
there
center
a couple of weeks ago, and there was a big sign. It wasn't hung, but it was sitting right next to that office
Yes.
that said visitor center.
Correct.
And Juanita will spend some of her time there, but she also spends time at other places, I'm sure, around that area.
Right. That bit of signage would be pretty easy. It's a good point. We can put a sign that says out of the office, please visit the bait shop.
Right, exactly.
But there's no guarantee someone's going to be at the bait shop all the time because we don't, it
Yeah.
depends on our hours, of course.
And you don't have to have
Yeah.
it manned. If you have brochures or maps or just something on a wall, that counts as a visitor center too.
Right,
One
too.
person.
Yeah, but I mean, all the time I've been here, the maps and everything has been down by the bait shop.
Well, they're producing new maps, and they just sent me an email. They have new maps that they want to produce. They've got a bid cost on it, so we're going to be producing some new maps for the lake and that cover the trails and the common areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Forgive me because I am new. Is the Bark Park part of Parks and Recreation? That's right below the Harmon
The
building?
Bark Park it is on Parks property. It has a kind of unique history. It was born out of a volunteer effort, and volunteers made it happen. And then through time, Park assumed more responsibilities for the routine maintenance. But it really is evidence of what can happen when volunteers come together to
It's really amazing.
to put something in the park.
We can, another meeting, but would signage come from Parks and Recreation or come from the city to let people know where it is?
Well, it depends on where you want to put the sign. If it's on Parks
On
property,
Prospect.
us.
On Prospect,
That'd be the city.
because that would be the city? Okay, all right, that answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on the past week or so? Well, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank
Did
you.
I answer your question,
Yeah,
also? I did?
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any committee reports?
So we were going to do a committee report, but looking at the agenda, I'd like to propose that we do a committee report at the next either workshop or regular meeting.
Okay.
We do have a few things, and Steve, I need to just touch base with you. I think we've been talking about zoning, and I think we've got a really good understanding now of how the zoning works for the ecological, environmental aspects, but we need to overlay on top of that. And you were calling it strategy, but I'm envisioning an overlay on top of that that's additional zoning, like commercial or green belt or whatever. So we'll have, we're working through the process. It's been illuminating. And I think it's highlighting what works and what additional information we need beyond the NERP.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
Good. And
Yeah.
just for the record, that's for the planning committee.
Yes, for the planning committee.
No other committees have
So-
been meeting recently that I know of? Finance committee, nothing going on? No? Okay. Old business. The first item of old business is the executive session. So,
Yes.
are we prepared to go into executive session now? Let's read our notes about what we do. We need a motion and a
motion
vote
that
to
we
go into
in.
executive session.
I will second that motion.
So that was
A motion that we
Carissa.
go into an executive session.
Thank you. And that was Lori.
A second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to state what the executive session is for?
Yes, I was going to say you have to have your, it's for the purpose, I'm sorry, restate your, for the purpose of
Yes.
discussing hiring him.
I motion that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the hiring of an executive director.
Perfect.
I so move.
Okay.
As a second.
Carissa, Lori?
And I want to bring up a point
I'm
on
sorry, yes,
discussion.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is that I would like to thank the committee, and I'm not sure who they all were, for putting up the job description. I thought it was so well done, so professionally done. And I particularly liked the closing, and if I may read, because I think I'd like to have it on record, that within an ethical framework exhibiting creativity and innovation in programs and in place of the above requirements, any combination of relevant education and experience which demonstrates the knowledge, skill, and ability to perform the essential functions of a job will be considered. And I really think that that ethical aspect was important in which the committee said. And so I would like to have the community know that we're going to try to approach this from an ethical viewpoint.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. So we are going to executive session now, Ron, David? It is,
Yeah. Can we
You're ready,
I'll
Ron.
make a motion to come out of executive session
I
and back
second the
into open
motion.
session.
That's Mark and Lori.
I'm trying to write that down and you didn't get to say it.
Let's do that. Put it down. Mark, would you repeat what your actual motion was, please?
I move to come out of executive session and back into open session.
Thank you.
I second
That's
that.
Lori, okay. It is 7:23 PM. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion?
Aye.
Aye. No, I didn't, so I don't vote. Motion passes 6-0. We're out of executive session at 7:23 PM. Eureka Springs Parks Commission, back at our regular meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion? Do we have any action to be taken after our executive session?
I make a
I would like
motion
to
that
make
we
a motion
hire. Okay, go
To
ahead.
hire Sam Dudley as Executive Director for Parks and Recreation.
Second.
Okay, that is Mark and Rod. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 That's 1, 2, 3. All opposed, say nay.
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 That's Sue and Mary Ellen. Wait, did I count wrong?
No, I have not voted.
Okay.
I guess I still have some minor reservations. Is it appropriate to talk about that here?
Not-
No, not
Okay.
at this point.
Well, then I will vote, if that's okay. I will vote for Sam.
Okay. So aye for Sam was 1, 2, 3, 4. Nay for Sam was 2, Mary Ellen and Sue. Was that a motion? It was. That was our discussion. Okay. All in favor of hiring Sam?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4 to 2. Is that right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work of the hiring committee, too. That was a lot of work, and I thank you all. Now, because of the time constraint and the whole rest of our meeting to do, I know that one of our commissioners has
I do.
an issue. So Carissa, do you want to tell us anything before you go, or do you want to just duck out and we could phone call you or something?
There
or-
were a few points that I just wanted to raise regarding the Lake Leatherwood, what is it, 4th of July event?
Okay, well, that's the next item on old business. So let's move on.
I can
Next
stay for
item.
that, because, yeah, I had a few questions, and I also
Okay.
had some comments and some suggestions
Okay.
that would bring your cost down and actually give you more. So can we go through that?
Let's do that then. Let's jump into that's our second item on old business, so we'll talk about the Eureka Springs Independence Day Festival.
Okay, the festival is, that's a neat name, I like that, Eureka Springs Festival.
Is that what it was called?
Independence Day
I do
program.
have a question why we're calling it Independence Day programming when it's not on Independence Day.
Ideally, well, it's a Fourth of July, it's the
event, but-
fireworks, and the intent was to join the entire 3-day period into
Yeah.
a larger Independence Day celebration, so that's why.
Yeah, I get multi-day celebration, I get weekend, I just don't get day when it's not the 4th.
But the name of it is Independence Day, right? So I don't know, I guess it's still appropriate.
Yeah. Before we even get into this, and Susan's here to help explain this, and she has helped manage the team that they've brought together, not me, to bring all this information together. So understand that this is a planning process. The only thing that's agreed upon are the funds that we've expended and planned for with the 4th of July fireworks. And these are ideas, potential costs, and various other variables that they're trying to bring together onto paper. And with the understanding that it's going to be a team effort. It's going to be a team effort between the city and with CAPC and with parks. And I'm I think the folks are doing a great job, bringing this information together. But when it comes time to do some of the other, like the advertising and doing some of the other things, folks are going to have to come in from the city and from CAPC, and this is going to be the expected process, I would think, that the leadership from the various commissions and leadership from the city would get together and say, okay, what do we have? What can we afford to do? And who's going to assume this responsibility and that responsibility? We've already seen some folks come forward and say, yeah, I'm ready to help you with, say, trolleys. I'm ready to help you with maybe crowd control and various other aspects. But that's a process that still remains. So please, when you go through this, understand it is not something written in stone. Sorry, Stacy. But it's something that we're planning, okay? Cool. And with that, it would be better. I could go through this, but I don't think it would be appropriate because Susan can probably give you a quick rundown of the document. Are you good for that? Yeah? Okay.
Okay.
Is that all right with you
Yeah, we
guys?
can invite Susan up here, but let me ask Carissa again. Do you want to say your piece first? You need to go soon?
No, I think I can stay for,
And listen to Sue first, and then, okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
No,
Okay.
I'd like to.
So if you've all read the document, I don't want to sit here and read it line for line, but.
Since you're on recording now, would you say your name so that it will be on the...
Susan Luddy, I'm the administrator, I do administration at Parks and Recreation.
Thank you.
I know all of you have already read the document, so I don't want to read it line for line, but as Steve said, the underlying, I'd say, heartbeat of this is really about the community and bringing everyone together and making this event that's affordable, where everyone can come and not feel like they're left out. So we're looking at different options that if this event were to move forward and how it's presented, or with some slight edits, to do perhaps, one idea we have is 2 wristband options, have people at the entrance, and if people just want to go for fireworks, we direct them in one area, and that would be admission free, so that people can feel like they can afford it with their families, and then charge a small nominal fee to help us make up the difference of some of the costs. And I know that's also, I'm assuming that's one of the major concerns that maybe the commission has, is the cost. How are we going to pay for 2 or 3 bands, or, have food truck vendors come in? And there's been ideas we've looked at, such as sponsorships. And some vendors have talked about that, are you going to do sponsorship options? And they're willing to do that with us. So, I mean, I don't know how much more you'd like me to go through, but, we're looking at all the logistics that's involved in this. Last week we had a meeting collaborating, across different city resources, such as the Chamber of Commerce and CAPC. I've been reaching out to the police and fire department. We're trying to, get together and do a walk around Lake Letterwood with everyone that's collaborating to, choose the appropriate area to shoot the fireworks from, and from that build around it for all the vendors would be in food trucks and music, et cetera.
Where was this? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Microphone.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. I don't think
Yours.
she was finished, so go ahead and finish, sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Where would the stage be positioned?
Steve, do you have a?
If you look at the diagrammatics, and bear in mind, again, this is just conceptual at this stage because it needs to be discussed. At the end of Mulladay Hollow, if you look on I think you should have attachment 1, LLCP North. You can see the various color codings, and in the blue color coding toward the back end of Mulladay Hollow is an area we're considering for placing a stage. It also gives an opportunity for musicians and performers to come down via the maintenance road and through the back gate there. And we have a lot of power takes right there at campsite number 20. Now, it could be possible that we'll need to run a feed further back in, depending on the placement of the stage.
Okay.
That still is undetermined. So that's the location we're looking at right now.
Got it. I
Yeah.
did see that schematic. It wasn't clear where the stage was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just for information, the Arkansas Arts Council does offer, they have an Arts on Tour program.
Yeah, I know what
And they'll
that
pay
is.
40% of bands that are registered with them if you're a nonprofit. And I think that applies
Thank
for
you.
city, but if it doesn't, you could get maybe the Eureka Springs Arts Council.
Yes.
And there also are a trove of local artists where your average, that could fill in, your average cost would be less than $300 or $400 for a performance. And you could talk to Sarai or Ron at the Odd to sort of link in with some of those local artists. They're the people
Yes.
that do the Christmas programs.
You're talking about artists as in musicians?
Musicians.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah,
Okay.
they have all different kinds of artists, but yes, musicians. So you could
Yeah.
actually, for the amount that you put down for 3, you could have 10 different
Right.
performers and have it kind of be a rolling thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I think would increase the appeal and people buying the wristbands.
I think we've been thinking of, what we've looked at so far is bringing in a headliner and then having some local
So the
music,
yeah.
local bands around it.
So the artist and the Arkansas Arts and Tour is all about Arkansas artists.
Yeah.
So they're not so much about headliners. So that's a question that you need to sort of decide. Do you want to go
Yeah.
with a headliner that's maybe from out of state, or do you want to really sort of focus on the Arkansas and the local?
Mm-hmm.
So there were like 54 musicians just in the Northwest.
Oh, wow.
Some of those were classical, and they had all different kinds. But I'll send you the link and the program,
Yeah.
the manager of the program's contact details.
Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
'cause
I mean,
that would really reduce your cost, but you'd be able
Right.
to do a lot more.
we really want to strike a balance, between bands, or musicians that will draw a crowd, right? Because we're paying a lot, collectively, we're paying a lot for fireworks and the rest of the event. So we're trying to be like, will people automatically come because there's going to be music
Yeah.
and there's
The-
going to be fireworks? You know what I mean? It's just that balance of trying to figure
Yeah.
out what's the right mix.
The other thing is maybe to link up with the Odd, because they may have
Yes.
headliners that weekend.
I have
that
spoken
would-
with Ron,
Okay, good.
yeah, preliminary,
Yeah, because you may
yes.
be able to sort of go, well, we'll give you 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I mean, a headliner could be someone that's a regional artist.
Right.
It could be someone from Little Rock. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be from way, way away.
Northwest,
But just someone we
yeah.
normally don't get to hear and
Yeah,
has a
yeah, that'd be
name.
cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for that input.
Any questions for Sue about the,
Add one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance. Will the parks liability insurance cover an event there, or do we have to have separate liability insurance for this?
That I don't know, but I would assume it'd be the city's liability insurance, not the parks, because the
Okay.
parks is the city.
And would it be covered then?
it,
I'll have to
Would
check
we
into
need
that.
to, I think
Yeah,
we should just
yeah.
double check, just to
you'll
make
check
sure.
with the city. And the fireworks company will be requiring copies of stuff too, so they'll be.
Yeah, we
they'll
did
be in
bring this
touch.
up last time, I think, and they have their liability insurance.
Okay.
And then they said that we do have to have our own, and there is, I know we do have insurance as a city, but is it specific to this? Does this require
Yeah, does
anything
it
extra?
cover-
That'd be
does- yeah.
maybe touching with the mayor and their team would
Yeah,
find out.
Steve, it's a sensitive issue because we have a lot of immunity just from being a commission or being a government entity in Arkansas. And there are situations where having insurance can actually provide, you pay for it, but you get less coverage because you lose some of your innate. So you have to be a little careful as to
Yeah.
what you do and check into it.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
point, yeah.
That was it.
Interesting.
Any other questions? That's it? Thanks, Krista. Sue, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay,
you,
thank
Sue.
you, appreciate
Looks
it.
good.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
This is going to be exciting.
No, I'm
Okay.
looking forward to it.
Anything else about Independence Day programming we'd like to know or talk about? These maps are on those attachments you sent, but there's also all the other, here it is, the little information. Like you said, it's the proposal for the different things for Independence Day, but they're changing and.
Yes, it's going to be dynamic, once we get everybody together, the group will get together, and then I would kind of encourage the commission leaderships and the city leadership to kind of talk to each other as well and see, okay, how do you want to work this, rather than have the director or the lead of the CAPC do this. It's more of a leadership thing. The top leaders need to come together and say, okay, how are we going to pull this off? How much do we have to spend? How do we want this to look based upon what our team has brought in front of us? That kind of thing. And then let the team then run with it and bring it, make it happen. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okey-dokey, that's all of our old business. Carissa is leaving us. Thank you, Carissa.
Oh, Mark,
Thank you.
I think, Mark, didn't you have a question?
I'm sorry, Mark, do you have a question about the Independence Day thing?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Chris is leaving at 7:36 PM. Oh, let's get there. Okay, so new business.
The Crescent Spring terracing, I don't know if Stacy's...
Stacy had to leave.
He had
He
to
had to
leave.
leave.
Okay. I was out doing a check on the work at Crescent Spring, and I met Stacy out there, and he was, the wall is progressing well. I think it's looking quite nice. We got one of the benches in. And of course, when you take out the material for the wall, then it kind of makes it, and you have to kind of push back because they're putting materials behind that wall to reinforce it. But what it does show you is the amount of overburden we've got there. It's quite steep. And of course, that overburden is one of the problems that we had before that causes the push. And I don't know the history of the garden and how did they bring soil in? Is it natural erosion that caused it to deposit there? But it is quite high. And it presents, once it gets wet, it's pressure behind the wall. And Stacy had mentioned some time ago about terracing and then talked about, well, now that you've got it open like this and you've got the stuff behind it to reinforce the wall, he's got drainage down at the base, so he can move the water, it trickles through that the rock top and the rock in the back, then goes down to a drain, then that drain goes out to that one point where we had the water feature, so to speak, and then that drains across to the street to normal drainage. But what he was proposing is saying, well, why don't we terrace that? Why don't we, now that we've got that, put another wall behind that, and then that will, then you don't have to take away the overburden, and then that will be another wall behind it, holds back the overburden, and you keep pretty much the feature of what you've got there, and then in the space between that terrace wall and the current wall, fill that with soil, and then you have kind of a strip garden opportunity there. And that would only run probably half the way down toward the spring itself, because the whole feature terraces, it slopes. And then once you get closer toward the spring, you don't have the same issues with the amount of overburden. So that's one option. Another option would be remove the overburden and say, okay, we're going to go in there and we're going to take out all that overburden, and that will reduce some pressure. But the feedback he had on that was when you do that, you're going to expose the underlying stone, which may or may not be very pleasant to look at because it just depends. You just don't know what you're exposing in the stone. The other option would be put the soil back like it was before, and you have a very steep overburden down to the wall just like it was before, and you count on the current structure being stronger and engineered a little bit better than maybe before because you're draining, and rely on that for the long-term viability. So, and I'm sure he would have a lot more detail as far as structural elements, being a stonemason, but he did talk to me about, this is possible, and he thinks it'll look very good in that region. I think it's something we could, if we wanted to do that, it's something you could put to the Historic Commission or the historic side of the house. You're not changing that historic part as much as you're adding an element to basically maintain the features you have, the slope you have, and then also ensure the long-term viability of your historic features up front that have been restored. So he gave me some quotes here. I don't need to necessarily go into those right now, but he said that, as an addendum to his current contract, I'd have to look into whether or not that's possible. I think it is. He would be willing to address that and put in that terrace. So I wanted to bring it up here to you today so that you'd have that and decide if you wanted to pursue that, because right now he's got it exposed. And he's got the opportunity is there to put the wall in and then put the soil on top. And if we don't do it now, then as he goes down the wall, he's got to eventually cover that up. And then, we'll restore it back to like it was probably with the slope, or we say we're going to do the overburden. So the timing is there. I don't know that it's a mad rush to make the decision. He still has more wall to do, but I don't know his timeline for that. So if you wanted to, in the next work session, dig into it deeper, and then decide if you wanted to do it, and then have a special session so you can kind of compress the timeline to make your decision, I would recommend that. That's.
Can you give us just a very general, what kind of amount of money are we talking about here?
He's his basically priced about $13,900, and I've got the dimensions he's talking about as well. So he's kept it, I think, probably a pretty good reasonable price for that amount of wall. But again, I'd have to dig into this. This just I got the other day. So this is something to, and he broke it down into the various components. And I can get that to you.
It's too bad he's gone because we probably could ask him these questions too.
Yeah.
I'd like to know which is better for long-term. I'd like this wall to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the problems we've had and have had around the walls here is the water.
Right.
So if the terracing really is the best solution versus replacing the overburden or whatever. I think that we should consider that in our decision too, not just the money, but what is the best solution for long-term survival of that wall and less water erosion, like you said.
Correct, and it's not, as I understand, it's not just a wall, because he had already talked about adding elements so that he could account for a terrace, and then you collect water behind the terrace. That water feeds down into the next one, so he has a way of moving the water more efficiently, so you don't build up all that, the pressure beyond the wall. So it's not just putting a wall up, he'll put a footing up there, and he knows how to design all those elements. So if it goes up there, it's going to be sturdy, and it's going to be designed to take care of the water load.
And to know that the water will go where it's supposed to go and not out on the street, and all that, it'll go down in the ground and all that, so.
Right, and then, you know, the positive element would be you didn't have to take away the overburden, you don't have to dramatically change the design of the garden so much, the plants that are up on that higher elevation, you know.
How
You don't
much
have to-
overburden is there? Do you kind of have an idea?
It's, what you can do is the only thing I can do is show you with the picture, because once you dig into it, now, they have been, in the past, been putting rocks up here, but they've been stacked rock. What
Okay.
is being proposed now is a mortared type structure, like you're seeing with
Correct,
and so it's going to be a little bit more, a lot more sturdy, I guess. But you can just see, I don't know if you got, let me walk around and show you. So you can see here, this is the old wall, and then this is the overburden. And if you look at it lengthwise, like here, you can see here's the old wall. And he took away, there were some...
There was,
But they
yeah.
weren't the original, though. He's bringing this back to its historical
Okay.
feature. So he took away that added brick layer that was up here, and now you can see much more clearly how much you're dealing with. And you can see that, yeah, there's a lot of overburden here, and what he's also talking about is that if we tried to remove that overburden, you can see a lot of stone in here, and some of the underlying rock features would then be exposed. So
Okay.
it's hard to tell how much is going to be soil and how much would be underlying limestone.
I've been watching this, and I was wondering what was going on. I really didn't have a clue. I thought it
Right.
was crumbling and falling down, but now I understand it has.
Right, and he's backfilled, now this is on a concrete footing, and behind, and it also has a drainage pipe down there. And then he's backfilled with this gravel material, and that gives that structure, and that's per the, the design. But while this is exposed, he's proposing you start another terrace wall right here and rise that
Makes
up
perfect
vertically. And
sense,
then you
because-
backfill this with some soil and have a row of plants in front of the terrace wall.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Would you like to see?
Yeah.
Well, he's showing that.
I
I'd
heard
like
what
to say,
he
I'm
said.
I'm not
Yes, please.
inclined
Right.
to jump and do something right now. I'd rather get,
I was
I'd
over
rather
there the
get
other
some other
day.
opinions of different options.
Fascinating to see.
We've already overspent on that wall, way more than I think we ever intended to. And my understanding also was the tree was really a lot of the problem that they got rid of. So I'd like to see some more work done on possibilities.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. I think we need to get some, because I want to know what the groundwater, what are all the solutions for this
Right.
problem? Is this
Yep.
just what's the best solution, or is
So
there?
like I said, there's like 3 options that I can think of right now that can be dug into a little bit more in more detail, and then we can build up more information for the next possible work
Put a
session.
work session on that, and get some
Yeah.
expert opinions and things. That'd be a good idea.
But just to get the ball rolling,
Okay.
that's the proposal.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any more questions on Crescent Spring? Item number 2 is the Lake Leatherwood Dam Safety and Emergency Action Plan. That particular one is, the emergency action plan is under revision, and Juanita's working on that. She's also working on some emergency response checklists and things like that for the lake, and updating all that material. We had some folks come out, and we had a meeting out there of, let me see, I have it right here. We brought together the fire department, not the fire department on this particular meeting, but we brought the sheriff's office, we brought emergency management office, and then we had our local police department out to the lake as basically as an introduction. And the whole design of the meeting was to get together, get to know each other, and then talk about building out the emergency plan. The emergency action plan for the dam, to let you know, has to be exercised, tabletop exercise every month except the third month, then you have to have an actual exercise. So this is a requirement for the dam. So I just wanted to put this on the agenda to let you know that that's going to be a process that's ongoing. I think it's we have to do it. It's important for safety, but it also presents an opportunity for us to coordinate and work with the other departments in the city, which is, I think, a very healthy and good thing for us, because they responded just recently to an incident we had out there, and we had a canoe that was sitting on the spillway because someone fell out of their canoe, but this canoe stayed on the lake and eventually drifted on down toward the spillway over the dam. And we couldn't safely recover it, but the fire department came out and used one of their tools. They wanted to try the tool, and they went out there and recovered the canoe for us. So that was kind of neat. And so Juanita got to meet them, and they got together and said, okay, we're going to come back out and we're going to have more meetings. They have some exercises, I think, that they have to do. So I think she said in April that they're going to come out and have a meeting out there again. So there's no action really required on this. I just wanted to make you aware that that is a priority item safety-wise, and to get that revised and exercised. So did you have any questions on that particular item?
No, I just have a comment that I think working with the city emergency departments and the sheriffs and all the county and all that is really important, because we have to remember, most people go into a park, they expect there to be a park ranger or someone out there. We don't have that. We have park employees. So having trained emergency people that are more familiar with each other and the process and the training and can be good for their response. That's good. I'm glad you're doing that.
And I think there'll probably be requests for the commission to consider grants. Hopefully the matches on those will not be onerous, but it probably would be for emergency equipment out at the lake.
Yeah,
so it kind of all feeds into that.
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate this emphasis on safety, and I think those connections are really important for all kind of aspects of safety, that people from different entities around about come out here and see the park and know the lay of the land and know who to call if they need to contact someone from parks. Those are all really important things.
Yeah, thanks. And I'll let Juanita know. She's working hard on it.
Good.
Good.
The
third item?
wildlife action grant thing?
The Wildlife Action Grant was basically, that particular item was a follow-on grant application that was planned when we started working on the Urban and Community Forestry Grant. That grant, the Urban and Community Forestry Grant, was a research grant, so we could go and research our parks, our glades, and start to come up with ideas about what we could do for maintaining green space within the city, how to maintain our forests and our glades. And that's ongoing, and it will finish in August. The follow-on was to, as part of a long-range plan in restoring glades, was to restore 2 educational or research glades on the eastern side of Lake Leatherwood. So it was kind of a continuum. So it seemed a natural step to say, okay, we're going to get that one. Oh, we can line this one right up and just dovetail in and move right along into the mechanical clearing of a glade. And that was the idea, and I put together this application, but after thinking about when we first had the meetings, I said we really do need to focus on our core. We need to take care of our facilities. We need to get the quality into our facilities, maintain that quality, and refocus on that. And we have a lot of grants out there already. We've got watershed grants, we've got lake health grants, we've got historical grants we need to review. Those are coming up soon, but the products of those. So we have a lot of projects going on, and adding this one at this time seemed to be, probably would dilute from those efforts. I do think next year it would be a good idea to not put this away, but to come back maybe next year, gather more data, and then come back at this again so we can clear 2 glades on the east side. In the meantime, I think it's important to maintain those glades. Maybe go in and say, we're not going to allow, say, saplings of eastern red cedar. We'll go get those, but we're not going to be out there clearing them. But we do want to maintain them so that we can be ready on the following years, 2024, to come back and revisit that. So the main reason for this was, at first, yes, I was going to say, okay, we need to talk about the match, which was about, I think, around $30,000. But in retrospect, it's probably better just to hold off and wait until next year and then go at it then. But it does give you an idea, and we can start talking about it now and not rush it, which tends to happen because we have only so much time to get certain things done, and you know how busy parks can be. So sometimes we get to these grants and say, oh, we got to hurry up and get this put together. But Chris Fisher also brought up a very good point. It's good to start engaging you guys early and engage the public early so people can talk about these things, kind of walk their way through it and say, okay, this is something we really want to do, and dedicate some money set aside for this in the form of a match. So during the next year, we can do that.
I have a question. Who wrote these grants and who applied for them? Did you do that, or did Scott?
This one I wrote.
Did you?
Chris Fisher wrote the body of the Urban and Community Forestry Grant, and then we all got together and did editing together to make that one go. That was a very coordinated one there. But
That's
this
been a
one,
while, yeah.
this one I put together. But there are pros and cons to that, because when it comes to grant writing, sometimes having the right expertise might have helped me earlier on the first one, because they came back and said, well, when they said no last time, they said, well, it's because you put these elements in here and this grant doesn't cover that. I didn't catch that. So, you just do your best and you come at it the next time. So sometimes it's an iterative process. We have folks out there who have applied for these grants, and you can go back and look through the history. And we've got folks from university with PhDs that have applied multiple times. And if they get it kind of just right, and it's the right thing that whoever's granting the monies, that's what they're focused on. They think you've got it well organized and well put together. They'll go ahead and grant some funds to help you. So it's a learning process. The grant writing process is very interesting.
Well, Chris Fisher's worked with the Urban and Community Forestry Grant people for a while, so he knows a lot too. That's nice to know we have him.
Yeah, we're co-coordinators on the Urban and Community
Glades project.
Forestry Grant, and we've got like our 5th newsletter out, so if you ever want to see our newsletters, I can get those to you. We kind of, once a quarter, we try to hit it on the quarter. We put out just a 4-pager. It says, here's what kind of the key items we're doing and where we're going and how we envision the next couple of months. So, and hopefully in August, we'll have a lot of nice products available to the Commission. And I probably should, and just because of this particular grant, start engaging the Commission, saying, okay, here are these materials. I don't want to necessarily throw all the research at you, but we do have some final products that are, I think, worthwhile to get out so you can read those.
Yeah. So, Steve, I really want to thank you for bringing up this issue of the Glades. I think it's really important. It is the part of the park that needs the restoration, and I really support that. And thinking about this the last couple of days, maybe the way forward is a little bit of what you're saying, but as parks, rather than have a big grant, but as parks has a little bit of time, you can pull a couple of bodies off, or a few bodies off, take them out to those areas and see what you can do. I'd also encourage you to do your best to try and move away from mechanical. I know clearing the glades is a huge task, but it's also it's very easy to harm them. And we also don't want to end up with these perfectly restored glades and then all the habitat around them been disturbed. And opening up trails, that can be a gift that keeps on giving to future directors, because they're now open places and people will try and follow them and end up in the glades, which is not where you necessarily want them walking around without knowing what they are.
Agree.
So maybe this is a time to experiment and see, how much can be done without mechanical. It's going to take more labor, but it is done in other areas. And in fact, even I was talking to Eric Fuselier, because he was involved in this grant, and I was speaking to him over the weekend, and he has some experience at the Science Centre where they use chainsaws, but they didn't use any other kind of mechanical.
Yeah, that's probably my mistake. When I say mechanical, I'm talking about the mechanical removal and saying you're going to fell the trees, buck the trees. It doesn't always include the fact that, or doesn't always mean that you're going to go in there with a Mini-X or other equipment, because in the other paper I provided, it talks about, well, you can do that if you can assure you're not going to damage the substrates and the soils, but if it will, then the other alternative is you can stack it off to a side, you can buck it to a size that maybe you can pull it out manually. There are other alternatives to not damage the glade. So it wouldn't, it wouldn't do any good to try to save the glade by destroying, the soils.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I get your point.
Yeah. I mean, actually, losing the soil or compressing it too much could be worse damage than not doing anything.
And by the way, and congratulations on nominating a new director. I'm not giving up on my volunteer work on glades, so I will revert back to that. I have about 3 projects on the books that I would like to continue with. So
Yeah, there are some things in the papers you gave us, like that Theo Witzel wrote about recommendations and methods for processes of restoration, like you were saying, you know, being aware of the environment, being aware of not disturbing the important areas, and being comprehensive in your protection of it. So that's good. I'm glad you got to send us that.
Yep. So that's all I have on that one, unless you have any more questions.
Okay, what's next? Shuttle.
Now, this is a quick one. This is not a deep dive into the shuttle and discussing the whether we want to do it or not. What I did was, from the last meeting, I took what I thought was everybody's comments and tried to build some, these aren't spreadsheets, it's done in Word, but these are basically tables that kind of show you the kind of data that I think that you're looking for. And the purpose was to put this in front of you, look at the format. If it's the kind of data that would help you make a decision, then it's a lot easier for someone to go out and start the science project, start digging up that stuff. We just don't want to start on something to come back to the table, and it's kind of like, no, this doesn't tell me what I want. I did a little bit of web searching on, the basically looking at the cost-benefit type analysis. So I used that. And then I integrated into this the 3-year look back that Carissa had brought up, and then I also took it forward 3 years. Now, I don't know how easy that's going to be. Obviously, if you're trying to predict the future, you know that you're going to have to kind of explain your variables, and it is a prediction. It's not going to necessarily hold hard and fast. But it gives you an outline of what we're going to look at based upon what was said. And if you have feedback on that, let me know, and I will update this and then pass it on to the next director, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. I can't wait to have more shuttle discussions. I'd like to get that, to understand and make some decisions based on some of those data points there. Okay, the commission workflow management, IT discussion.
This was something I put together just for your consideration, and it has to do with the commission structure is an interesting structure. And at times when you're working in parks and you're trying to keep everybody in the loop and trying to also do your job, it can be difficult trying to keep the commission informed. Sometimes, just like the grant, these things pop up, and we need to have a methodology of getting information to the commission. So one of the methods is we can use MS Teams, Microsoft Teams, and I put up some test sites already. And MS Teams basically gives you set up a team, and it has channels in the team, and I can set up a channel for each commissioner. And that gives the commissioner basically a place to go and see materials, say you're working on finance, and there's finance materials that Mark might need. Well, I could load, say if he says, hey, I need a little research on this or whatever, I could load that to his page. And then he could look at that, and the director could exchange back and forth that way. It doesn't bring the commissioners together in the form of a meeting because they have their own channels, and then that is in keeping with what you can't have a meeting that way without a public meeting. So it helps get the information out to the commissioners, and it also helps that interchange, the sharing of information, so that maybe earlier on in the planning cycle you'll get what you need, so when we come to the meetings you'll be better informed on a particular subject. If you're a committee, that's important, or as a whole, then you just drop that information in each one. The other tool that you saw used for this meeting is I went to the calendar mode, and I set up a calendar meeting, and on the invite I loaded I didn't load the files this time, I put a hyperlink to where the files could be found. And that's a good way, I think, to make sure that all the commissioners get their information and instead of email, because sometimes emails can fail us because it gets buried and doesn't work.
Yeah, but
I like the hyperlink.
I noticed some different documents got added at different times.
Correct.
And
yeah.
I don't think this time there was any problems, because I know you uploaded the minutes that I'd already sent to people.
Yes.
But how do people know that there has been that change? I mean, we don't want to have to keep going back. I'm sure most of us would like some kind of notice that we should go there.
That is hard on the calendar feature. On the MS Teams feature, you can set notifications. It's defaulted to notify you when there's a change to your page, and it sends an email to you and says, hey, this has been loaded. So the Teams, using MS Teams might be the way to go. The calendar feature, that was a problem. You just had to know, before you go to the meeting, go check your folder. But that isn't so good.
No, because we don't know how soon before the meeting we have to check, and people have schedules they're working.
Yeah, and so really the calendar piece, I tried that this time to see how I could get the information distributed to you in a single folder rather than sending it all out in individual emails. And it also helped me understand who is going to be at the meeting, because in the responses, and I thank you for that, a lot of responses came back in, so we had a good idea about quorum, and there weren't any questions in that regard. But I think the MS Teams method is the way to go. And the reason I brought this up is to just do exactly what you're doing, Sue, is to discuss what works, what doesn't work, what tools do you like, what tools work for you, because not everybody uses the same tool. Someone will be on an iPhone, someone will be on an iPad, someone will be on an Android. Everybody has something different. So the tools we use need to bridge that gap. You need to have a method that works for all those tools. It has to be able to work on all of them. So the Teams feature, I think, does, because you can get to Teams by Android, and Apple OS, and all the rest. When it comes to calendars, as you know, can be kind of difficult, because it depends on what calendar program you're using, and so that can be a bit of a challenge. This particular calendar program was nice because it sends out that first email. So what you could do...
With the wrong address, with the wrong time, I mean.
Yeah, and you see, and that depends on your computer, though, too. It depends on the sending computer, and it could depend on yours. So those kinds of things getting in sync.
I'm not set up for it. But.
Right, and then what you can do on that, however, is when I load those files, I can send. So it'll send another email. So then you'd know there's an update. So there's a way to do that. So I just was realizing that. I didn't do that because I didn't want to spam everybody before the meeting with a whole bunch of emails, but that may be the way to do it. But it just has to be something that everybody is agreed upon and is comfortable with, so that you don't get frustrated by receiving multiple emails.
And the new executive director. And the new executive director will be very key on this.
Yes. I will brief him. Sam and I get along really well. So that's the reason I put on issues. The issues are how we use things, how we employ them. We don't really have a standard quite yet. Our hardware varies that we're using, and the software might vary, but if we stick to one software type that's usable across platforms, and we set up some general standards that you are comfortable with, it's up to you, because it's your information and you're the commission. So how you want to receive the information is important. And this would be more of a push of information, not a pull. So you would basically say, okay, when these things are coming up, the director would push this information, so to speak, put it in the folder, and it's available to you. A pull is also possible if you send an email and say, hey, I need some information on this. Well, then the director, or whoever the director assigns, would get that information, you drop it into the team space, and then it's available. So that's what the solutions goes into, basically standardization. And, if there's any training required, these are things that, if anybody's unfamiliar with these tools, we could sit down and have in a workshop, kind of go through the process and show how that would work on your particular platform.
I have Apple, and I went on there and put it on mine, and it taught me how to do it, so it was easy.
Okay.
Good. It was easy to follow.
I did actually like that, Steve, a lot, too.
I did, too.
The one thing, I never thought I'd be this old man person, but I actually need printed. When it's a big document or something like that, I need to print it. I need to look at the paper and make notes on it, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one of the problems that I've had since I've been on the commission is I have to run down to the office place and get these big documents printed and stuff like that. It would be kind of nice if we had like an inbox down at the Parks office where, like, if there's documents like that we really need, that we could just go down and pick up from our inbox and get it, rather than having to go have it printed somewhere and pay for it and all that stuff.
That's a good idea, because it can cost a lot to print.
$200 just in printing documents in the last 6 months.
You could have bought several printers for that price.
Right.
No kidding.
Do what?
You could have bought several printers for that price.
Yeah.
No, but that is a good idea to address the fact that a lot of people may not have printers, may not want to learn how to use one or not. And just to have everybody be able to let the Parks office pay for the printing if that's appropriate.
No, there's a budget for that.
Yeah.
And you can put it in that communication system where you communicate back to the Parks office, say, I will need printed things, and then be a system for Yeah, good idea.
That's a good idea, and it wouldn't be hard to set up. Just the staff has a stack thing for their inboxes, and we just set one on the table in the parks office, and it'd be great because
That'd be
they
nice.
love seeing you guys.
I do like the calendar thing a lot, and I loved being able to go to Dropbox and just pull up these documents real quickly and read them.
Me too.
Especially for the agenda and all that kind of stuff, I thought that was
Yeah,
really
that was-
easy
Okay.
to access.
Okay.
But I also like the idea, I think everybody on the panel there would agree, sometimes it feels like we get this big document at a meeting and then we're expected to vote on something important like within, 1 hour. But it'd be nice to have these documents in plenty of time and really have gone through them a lot. So by the time they do get on the agenda, we've all been educated properly on the topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get the documents
yeah.
before they're on the agenda, and maybe, okay.
Yeah, it definitely seems it works better if we workshop documents like that first, and then we really have the chance to ask all the questions we need to.
Or if it's just information coming from the director's office, it's, we get the information, and then we talk about setting up a workshop for it. Then, yeah,
Okay.
or if necessary, sometimes it isn't. Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Those are great ideas. Okay. And that's the whole intent of this, is to develop some kind of workflow for the commission, and that'll help the director get the information out there a little earlier maybe, and then let you guys look at it, and then the workshop is a great idea. I don't necessarily want to create a tool that means the director gets, tons of questions leading up. I like the workshop idea because he can put the material out there, and then you come to the workshop ready to talk,
Already ready to
and
talk.
then cycle back into the regular meeting. That would be really good use of time, I think.
I think so, too. I also like that I'm jumping ahead already to security and things. I like that all this is a real secure way to communicate using our personal devices and things like that. It's nice.
And on the public record side of that, it means it's on our machines. It's in our team space. So when it comes to public record, it's available.
Yeah.
So that's very important.
Yeah, so when you get FOIA, you don't have to go back to your texts and make physical copies of your texts and deliver them to City Hall, which I've had to do, obviously.
The voice of experience.
Yes.
So, yeah, the shareable links is just talking about the work group application. So these are things that I can put this together, kind of an outline and kind of a structure based upon what you've said, and give that back to you or give it to the new director, and then we'll get that out to you and have a process. And I just hope it increases the information flow
Yeah, I
and
like
starts
this.
us off earlier in getting through the research of a particular topic, because you deserve an opportunity to know what it is earlier on, get to know it, get to discuss it before it comes to the table. And then when it comes to voting, that's something maybe when put together the agenda like this, we could put something out here, non-vote maybe behind it, so you know that it's not a voting item as much as it's an item to go over.
Yeah.
Because I know that you thought maybe we're going to probably vote on this and on the AGFC piece. And-
I got from communications we weren't, but
Yeah.
but well, I mean, it can also be we can also just say discussion of or
Correct.
voting on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did that. I did put discussion on most of these, I think. So
Yeah,
if
you
that
put
works for you,
discussion.
that's fine.
Yeah, and sometimes I've seen things on the agenda, not necessarily from you, where it says discussion, but we also needed to vote, and it'd be nice just to
Okay.
just distinguish there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be specific, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the workflow piece. I think it's important, and not only for the commission, it's also important to parks, because that helps the director and staff stay focused on the day-to-day job. So that's it for that one.
Will this be your last meeting with us?
Well, that's a question I was going to say. We have to, first of all, thank you very much for being an awesome interim director and making this transition from previous director to the next director very easy. Until we get together with that, I'll be part of that process, I assume. Talk to him, see when he needs to be onboarded, how, go through City Hall too, and because he'll have to adjust the pay and all those things. And I'll talk to HR,
Yeah.
and then we won't know how long the process will take. So,
Yep.
could be the last meeting.
And we've always said from the beginning, and Steve has always said he would be there if we need him to help in the transition.
Yes.
In the same sort of format that he's in now. I mean, right? So I don't think
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is something you have to figure out how to do that. But I think
I know,
that
it's
would
nice.
be wonderful Steve, and well appreciated by all.
Okay, well, thank you, and I'll work with Ruth to make that happen. And Sam and, of course, we work together a lot, and so I'll set up some kind of transition process to kind of bring him on board and into that job. Obviously, he knows parks really well, but there are a lot of these other things that Scott passed on to me that I will pass on to him, and then any of these new materials, I'll transition those as well. And then I won't disappear. I still have the volunteer thing.
You're
and
still project manager with the Glades thing, so you're...
Yes.
Yeah, so you're still involved with that, so yeah.
So,
Thank you so much.
well,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you, thank you. It's been great.
I
been
personally
a
am
lot of
glad
fun.
you're not going to leave, so
I
thank
know.
you.
Isn't that nice?
Me too.
Yeah, well, thanks.
This is like an ideal situation for hiring a new director, is having someone like him that's already in a consulting situation that stays on, and you're going to get questions all the time.
Well,
Sam.
you've got a great staff out there, and the biggest thing is to make these transitions smooth for them. They're doing great work, and they deserve, I think, that. They deserve a smooth transition so that they can just continue trucking on, so.
Good. What day of the week is there staff meetings? Tuesday, Monday?
Thursdays?
Thursdays.
At 9 o'clock is when, I've been holding meetings every Thursday. They don't have to be that way. They can be, it's up to the director. I did them every Thursday because of the transition, to keep things, to have good communications during that period, but
No, I just
typically
wanted to make
9
sure-
o'clock.
Yeah, just make sure I knew so we could be
Yeah.
aware.
Yep.
Ruth, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Is there anything that you guys need me for vote purposes? Because I'm way past my time.
No, I don't think so. That was the last item of new
Mark, I was
business.
going to make commissioner comments that potentially may affect you.
Said that again?
I'm going to make a commissioner comments that may potentially affect you.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're done with new business anyway, unless someone else has more questions about that. And we can move on to commissioner comments, if you'd like.
Yeah, so I can make mine. So, assuming that the person selected accepts the position, we have other candidates that are going to need to be told they didn't get the position, and that includes candidates that applied but didn't get interviewed. And I really request that it's not me, so I'm hoping maybe one of the other two members of the hiring committee could take that on
Oh,
and
I
do
can
it.
take that on.
Okay.
Okay.
It's no problem.
Or I can do it,
I'll
no
back
matter.
and forth with you.
No, I want to be out of the process. You have
Yes,
all, you have,
I need one short conversation with you, and then we'll be done.
Okay, I can do that. I can do that.
Okay, that's good. Lori can do that, and if you need help, Lori, Rod said he'd help you or someone else.
Yeah, I can help
We
you.
got it.
No, well, no, you have to be careful. I mean, you may be able to help, but you have to be really careful about having two commissions
About the
together.
meetings.
So you can discuss process, but I mean, this is a process thing. It may not be an issue, but you have to.
That I'm aware of.
Yeah.
It's not my first rodeo for being on
Okay.
boards.
That's good,
Okay,
yeah, that's
okay,
good. That was
okay.
one of the nice things about having you as commissioner. When I Googled you and all your previous life in Dallas, I could tell you knew how to be
I do.
at a meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Did you feel creepy that I Googled you?
No, it happens all the time.
He's famous.
Anything else, Sue?
No.
Okay, any other, Lori, commissioner comments?
No, I'm so grateful to you, Steve, for everything that you have
Yeah.
done during this period. You've brought stuff to the table that I hadn't thought about. So it's just been illustrative. Thank you.
Mary Ellen?
I would second that. Thank you again, Steve, for doing what you're doing, and I hope you will continue to do some of that.
I'll scoot over to Mark for his commissioner comments.
I want to fourth or fifth this with Steve. It's been a pleasure working with him and how he has come in there and quickly short-winded things. He doesn't, I love that he's not long-winded, but he's to the point and gets and reasonable and logical and rational. I'm grateful that you're going to still be around and still helping out. And I look forward to still working with you.
Thank you, Mark.
Amen. Okay, Rod, any?
I did say it.
Oh, that's right, you did, sorry, I forgot. I just went in a wacky order, it confused me.
Sorry about that.
No, that's it, that's good. I'm fine. I've thanked Steve, and I will thank him again, but I think that we all know that we'll find a way to do this transition and make things formal. I'll keep y'all informed. So that's it. We need some minutes to approve. Mark, do you need to go?
If all we have is minutes, I can make it through the minutes.
Okay, we have minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second,
Yeah, there's 5 sets, so we probably need to specify
Which
what
ones?
we're going to vote. I don't know if the procedure is to vote for all of them at once or separate them.
We've looked before, there is not you can lump them together and vote for them all at once.
you can vote for all of them at once.
But I think you do have to say it in your
In the motion?
motion.
Okay.
And And just for record-keeping sake.
I move that we accept, or I make a motion that we accept all of the secretary reports.
And I keep my second.
Okay. That's Mary Ellen. Rod, any discussion?
I'm still not clear. I still thought we needed to...
Yeah, we need to make that more clear, Mary Ellen, I agree. We'll call them secretary.
We
They
have
need
to say
be-
which minutes we're approving.
I thought we were moving all of them.
Yes, but no one else who reads the minutes is going to know what all of them
We need
is.
to say the dates, so I can read the dates to you, or we can just, probably more quickly, just do them one by one, actually.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
Let's do that.
January 17th,
Here.
February 7th, February 7th, February 9th, February... Someone wants to make motions?
And the 20th?
February 9th.
Okay, are we going
Yeah.
to do them one by one, or are you going to do them all as one motion? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure I understood that.
I
And
suggest
there's
all at
there's a
once.
special meeting 1 and a special meeting 2 for some of those days.
I think
Yes.
because of the special meetings, I prefer we do them one, let's just do
Okay.
each one a separate motion. Just start with each. So Mary Ellen,
Special meeting 1
a
on
second? Do
February 9th.
you have a second on that one?
Second?
That's Rod. Discussion, all in favor? Say
Aye.
Motion carries, whatever to 0. Okay,
Special meeting 2, February 9th.
that's Mary Ellen. Do you have a second?
Second?
That's Rod. Discussion, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
February 7th, special meeting 1.
That's Mary Ellen.
Second?
That's Rod. Discussion, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Special meeting 2, February 7th.
that's Mary Ellen. Do you have a second?
Aye.
Lori?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
January 17th, regular meeting.
That's Mary Ellen. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
That's Lori. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes.
And you want to pass them back to
That
her?
was it? All right.
Yes, that's
We're
it.
Good. Okay, so that's all we have left, unless we have any other weird announcements or things to say. We'll be in touch with you, Sam. I'm sure somebody in his group is watching this. And thank y'all.
Thank you.
Do we need a
to
motion
adjourn?
for adjournment?
Yes, please.
I move that we adjourn.
That's Mary Ellen. A second?
Second?
Rod? Discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mark. Good speaking up on that one.
I could have sworn
voted
Mark was
dinner.
going to second that.
I did too.
I was waiting for you to, Mark, to
Okay.
go ahead and second it.
I know. We are adjourned. It's 8:19 PM.